And good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Finally made it here to the end of the week. Hope you guys are doing well. Wave meteorologist Brian Goode. Welcome to today's blog where, as always, we take a look at the current setup, the short range, and always the fun part, the long range, which can change drastically sometimes. It's always fun to see where it starts and how it evolves each day here on the blog. And today is a perfect example of one of those long range items that we've been watching now for I can't remember the count. Does anyone remember when we first started seeing the signal for October? I believe it's been about 10 days, maybe even 2 weeks that it first showed up. We'll see. We'll see. Someone's surely been watching the blog every day, right? I can't be the one to remember all this stuff. I'm getting too old. I hope you all are doing well. Hope you're ready for the weekend. It is going to be a nice weekend. So that is the easy part of the forecast, is the weekends really haven't featured too much in the way of weather drama. It was different in the spring season and 2 parts of the summer, and then the weekends have really stood out as some of the prime times of the entire week. It's been during the week we've had some more unsettled weather. So good morning, everyone. I already saw a lot of your comments. Kathy, you're down in E-Town. Where you're in the Smoky Mountains, right? I thought it's where you were located at last week. Maybe I'm wrong there. Dan made a good comment. You probably saw it fly up. He's ready for the fifth return of summer. Get ready. There will be likely a sixth return, too, by the way, of summer as well. And Gary, trying to change our acronyms up instead of bots, both. Guess that works. Bring on the heat. Well, if you're ready for that, it's coming. But again, warmth this time of the year. No, you're still in E-Town. Okay, thanks, Kathy. This time of the year, these warm spells, again, come without a lot of humidity. So they're really actually very comfortable. They're not like July heat and August humidity type of ordeals. All right, today's big story has been more about the fog into Wave Country. This is a live look right now into Huber's Orchard and Winery. The pumpkins really pop, don't they, on a foggy day like this? So that orange really stands out. Very mysterious, spooky. Dare I say a little bit on the Halloween side there. Nice and cool start today. Now, fog, when it forms, is basically a cloud on the ground. All it needs is the sun angle to get a little bit higher up. It's almost there. But it'll start to work in what we call mix out the air, which gives the appearance of burning of the fog, which is not technically what's happening. But the fog will start to dissipate, and we'll end up with the sun goes to a phase where you get an overcast, where you go from a cloudy, difficult visibility, you get more overcast, then you get some haze, and then you go into some sunshine. It goes through all those phases. Sometimes it goes through them fast, sometimes it takes forever. And sometimes you can get stuck in the overcast portion and it will linger all day. We've seen that happen a lot in the cooler season, especially into the winter time period. Today, though, it will break up and we will go partly sunny as we head into this afternoon. Let me show you what it looks like on the current visibility map. Look at Paoli right now coming in right at 0 at the moment. So basically, there you go, full cloud on the ground. Even Kentucky, the Northern Kentucky Airport, Cincinnati, 0. Got a feeling they're dealing with some travel delays there. More than likely got a ground stop, or a lot of the flights are having a tough time getting off the runway. So if you have travel plans there this morning, it should improve by the time you get there, but there could be a backlog from what's happening now in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Airport there. You don't see that too often in a bigger airport. In fact, even for Louisville, it's tough for us to get down to 0 based on where it's placed at in Jefferson County. We get a little more steering that goes on in central Jefferson versus Covington's real close to the river. About a quarter mile visibility in Seymour, by the way. Kentucky starting to see some improvements. We can also look at the fog from up above as the sun is rising. We're able to look down and see where the blanket of fog is. And it's not going to show up very bright because it is real close to the ground, of course. So you can see a stripe of that fog right through, I would say, just north of I-64. Another batch as you head around Cincinnati to Seymour. There is some full sun, though. Some of you in, where would that be at? Scottsburg, Madison, you guys should have some sunshine getting through now. And obviously in Louisville, roughly around the airport, Okolona, Fern Creek area, and points of south, you're getting some sunshine as well. We should see a repeat of this again tomorrow, although I do think tomorrow it's going to be more valley and certainly river focused. So a little more through here, perhaps up 71. Once again, I don't know if it'll be enough for another advisory, but it's possible. So use caution and watch out for the deer as you're driving out. Ohio Valley storm chasing. I always love to hear from you guys on YouTube right now. Good morning, Brian. Yes, Paoli is awful this morning. Yeah, right at that 0 mark. You need to post a picture on Twitter there, guys, and I'll retweet that or repost that or exit. I don't know what you're supposed to call that anymore. Anyway, I'll look for it. So make sure to send it out. Okay, so the Futurecast for the weekend is pretty easy. A lot of the modeling was going full sun for this weekend. I am seeing some moisture around in the afternoons. It's coming in from the east, so we're going to go partly sunny for the weekend. So not a perfectly blue sky set up all weekend long. We'll have quite a bit of it, though. It'll still be nice. The thermometer will play catch up slowly each day. We'll get into the mid 80s. That'll be the trend all the way into Sunday. But another excellent weekend. No problems at all. And we say hello to October on Sunday. Who has a birthday in October? I got a feeling a lot of you do. My mom does. I think someone I talked to the other day on here, the birthday was near that time, October 6th. I can't remember. But anyway, good setup for beautiful weekend. So let's get right into the longer term, because this is what the main portion of the blog is about. We've got what we call a fairly established ridge in the eastern part of the country. You've got a trough in the western part of the United States, giving them some mountain snow yet again. Ski resorts are gaining a little bit of ground here. Some of the higher elevations of Montana and to Wyoming and Utah and Idaho, a little ahead of schedule, about a week ahead of schedule for them. So they're loving that. But that's basically the pattern being stuck for them, and it's stuck with the warmth over us. And you still got whatever in the world's going on with the tropics in the Atlantic, which continues to churn. The game plan, we'll hold on to this idea until about Thursday or Friday. Eventually, the low itself that is going to be moving in across Canada is going to try to grab this trough, if you will, in the west and try to drag it across the lower 48. Now, there's two issues here that I'm seeing. First off, the low pressure, the parent low, is relatively high in latitude. It's going to be more into Canada. The problem with that, when you get a front that's stretched out across that much real estate all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, is that it usually tends to go slower than what the models show. Also, your severe risk is typically not as high. You have a front, don't get me wrong, but you don't have the forward momentum, the forcing being very dramatic along the front, versus if the low was located, say, in Missouri or Illinois, it might be a much different ordeal. Another issue that can happen is if you get a low pressure that's a little further to the north, then you got a stretched out front, especially this time of the year. The Gulf of Mexico is warm, so you can actually induce another low pressure that could form somewhere along the front. And all that would do is make the front, where it's moving fast through the Great Lakes, it would then slow down a bit on the tail portion of it. So that would create a bit of a delay. So the cooler air at first will likely aim a little more north and east compared to our area. They're kind of just glancing below, if you will, while the southern part kind of drags a bit, which I think is starting to look more and more likely. But once that happens, we get what we call more of a dumbbell effect, where you're going to get the low itself slowing down, and then it may actually create a bit of a retrograde here, where it'll try another attempt Sunday or Monday to dip back down again into the Great Lakes and eastern part of the country, just reestablishing the trough, if you will, a bit stronger form. And that's going to put it at the very end of our 10-day, in some cases just beyond the 10-day. So this is one of those setups. We're going to have the cold front coming through, rain, perhaps some thunderstorms, get the low pressure as well. We'll cool down, but we may have to wait for a bit of a lag to see it wrap around and then pull down another wave of cooler weather, which would take another 36 hours or so for that to happen. So it's like a 1-2 punch to get stepped down to a cool shot of air. That's the way it's looking to me. So as far as severe weather goes, there's not enough for me to know at this point when the initial band comes through. Going by what I've seen before in this scenario, it typically is not an issue, only because of where the front is. You can get some showers and storms, but we don't know yet the exact timing. Timing of day will matter, whether you have fuel available. All those questions are going to take some more time to hash out. And some of the analogs, too, that I've been looking at, a lot of the data that can signal for severe weather in advance, not really harping on it right now. Not surprising, given how early it is. But I think that's something we'll just have to answer next week as it moves on by. Here's a sign of some of that uncertainty, too, on temperature. This is the GFS. The ensembles, again, the black line is the median or the mean of the highs and the lows, the ups and downs you see there each day, starting this weekend into next week. When they're close together, all the different ensembles are really close to the main black line there. That's a high confidence forecast in the highs and the lows. Easy to do when it's nothing but sunshine, right? So you got a very high confidence forecast, very close together, and then you get to next Thursday into next weekend, and then everything just goes chaotic. The modeling is not as sure of when the front will move through, how warm it will be, how cool it will be. So then you see a lot of lines going off the charts there. An obvious step down happens, but how fast that happens and then how low do we go also still being worked out. So that's not too shocking. So we have to almost take a middle of the ground approach on these cool waves, although typically cool shots of air tend to be cooler or colder in the reality when you get closer than what the model says too. So we're trying to account for that. One of the reasons why the big teleconnection that seems to be in charge at the moment, the PNA, Pacific North American Teleconnection Oscillation, it is going above the black line. I told you guys I'll show you this chart a lot this season. It is above the black line. Before we've been going above and below, and it's been kind of all over the place with our temperatures and overall keeping us from getting overly hot or overly cold. We're kind of just been in the middle. Now we're getting a longer term here of a positive angle here on the PNA, which should allow for the trough to, again, pass through and then dumbbell effect and dig back down once more. Here's what the CFS model is showing for the cold blast. This is about the 9th of October. And again, it did very well. It's one of the first models that I noticed. There is one, what we call the Rossby waves, way you can do signal analysis. I don't want to get too deep in the word and technology or terminology, sorry, but I will in the winter forecast. But in this case, this is a decent signal. This is varied a bit, but it's still holding on to the idea of the cool wave that will come into play roughly about the 8th or 9th of October. I think it'll be the end of the weekend, and maybe even early for the following week. Now, it does warm us back up, by the way, as we get a little closer to about the 14th, 15th of October. It tries to rebound once again, but then it drops back down with another cool wave. This will be about 4 or 5 days before Halloween. If you're curious about Halloween, just with this model alone, it does warm us up again for Halloween. So back an up and down type of setup there. Here is a look at some of the signal analysis for the cool wave. This is the one that picked out the one that's coming in this weekend fairly well. It does not show an additional wave of cool weather until November. November 8th to the 12th is the next time it shows another cool blast of air hitting the lower 48. So there's a bit of a disagreement on the additional ones coming through, but at least we're seeing that they're trying to come in and try to get the season changed, but this is fairly normal. But it's nice to have these kind of tools. We're able to try to narrow down the timing a little bit of expectations as we head through the rest of the autumn season. But I will say a lot of them are coming in mainly dry. I'm not seeing a lot of moisture here with these fronts that are coming through. So that's typical in a drought scenario. I still think we're in a drought, even though we had the rain recently. I don't think it was enough. So the drought index next week will be interesting. But you get into a dry fall, you can have very warm days, but your nights can get cold, and you can get even close to frost level earlier than normal in a drought type setup. Here's where we're looking at for now on numbers. Mid upper 80s. We'll go with the front roughly drifting through here at some point about a week from today. And I'll step down the temperature initially, but obviously cooling down as we get into the end portion of the weekend and early next week. 60s for highs and then 40s at night. Could we go lower than that? Yes. It's all about sky condition. If we clear out, we have a light wind, we may very well have 30s on the chart. And if you're curious, typically our first frost around here, we're in that zone now for those in light blue, which is our surrounding areas, Jackson County, Orange County, back into Breckenridge. You guys are now in your typical time period. You could see a frost. Louisville really doesn't see that chance until about the very late portion of October, the 20th to the 25th. Last year, it was early compared to previous years this decade. In the past 2 decades, really, last year was October 18th that we had our first frost. So it could be earlier than last year. I think we're going to fall. This first cool wave that comes through, 8th or 9th, could very well bring frost to the area. I don't know if it'll be in Louisville or not, but again, we'll see if there's that second shot on the 23rd that may very well do just that. But overall, I think we're going to have some interesting cool nights ahead of us. If you're a fan of fall weather, October has got some fun and games coming our way. And no, I do not see any snow chances, not yet. All right, again, it's a dry pattern overall, cold and dry when it gets cold. Does that all make sense? Type 2 if it made sense. Type 3 if you want me to get quiet and you're ready to go back to work or back outside. Let's see. Michelle, my ex is on the 1st. All right. Well, hope they have a good birthday. Great-granddaughter's on October 7th. 2. Everyone's a 2. Everyone's good. All right. Sounds good, guys. Well, listen, I'm going to run. I want you guys to have a good weekend. Let's let the modeling kind of just settle through the weekend. Let it just, spend more time in the oven, as I like to say. And let's look at this again Monday. And let's see where we stand, as we'll be in October at that point on Monday. And we'll see if the data is still looking for those time periods for cool weather. And we'll see if we have the numbers lower or not in the 10-day at that point. One more question I want to get to. How is Sunday's fog looking? Very patchy, more river-based, Kathy, not exactly widespread like we had today. All right. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Stay out of trouble. You know the drill. And I will see you guys coming up on the flip side. Take care, everyone. Enjoy first day of October coming up.